Opening hook, English. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to spend their entire lives chasing wealth, only to end up feeling even more restless, even more anxious? I once met a man who told me this story. He said, "All my life, I've worked tirelessly. I've invested in gold, in houses, in land, in everything people say is valuable. But the more I accumulate, the heavier my heart feels. I don't sleep well. I'm always afraid I might lose it all." I looked at him and asked a simple question. "You've invested in gold, in silver, in property. But tell me, have you ever invested in your wisdom?" He was silent. Because the truth is, every kind of wealth can vanish in a single storm. Money can slip away, houses can collapse, fortunes can disappear overnight. But there is one treasure no thief can steal, no fire can burn, and no time can decay. That treasure is wisdom. And that is what I want to share with you today, the art of investing in wisdom. Now, when we hear the word investment, our minds usually run straight to the financial world, stocks, real estate, savings accounts. But let me offer you another perspective. Imagine investing not in what you own, but in who you are. Imagine putting your best resources into three things you already carry with you every day: your time, your energy, and your knowledge. Think about time for a moment. Isn't it our most precious currency? You can always earn more money, but you can never buy back a single day of your life once it's gone. How are you investing your time? Are you spending hours scrolling through distractions? Or are you giving your minutes to things that genuinely make your soul expand? And then, energy. Have you ever noticed how much of your inner energy is consumed by worry, anger, or endless comparison? It's like pouring water into a leaking jar. What if you redirected that energy into growth, into learning, into compassion, into creativity? Imagine how different your life would feel. And finally, knowledge. Yes, books and lessons matter, but knowledge becomes true wisdom only when you live it. There are people who have read 1,000 self-help books yet still suffer, because they never turned knowledge into practice. Wisdom isn't about collecting information, it's about transforming your life with it. So, let me ask you this: when was the last time you truly invested in yourself, not with money, but with mindful attention to your own inner growth? The Buddha once said, "A well-trained mind brings happiness." That is the kind of investment that never depreciates. When your mind is clear, when your heart is at peace, you carry a wealth far beyond what the world can measure. Today, we are going to walk together into this idea: how to invest in wisdom through your time, your energy, and your knowledge. Because once you learn how to nurture this kind of wealth, you will realize something powerful. True abundance is not about how much you own, but about how deeply you understand. So, are you ready to begin this journey? Wisdom is the wealth no one can steal. There's a story in the old Buddhist texts that I often return to. It tells of a great king, a man who possessed mountains of gold, palaces filled with jewels, and treasures collected from across the land. To the world, he looked invincible. But one day, he lost his kingdom. The soldiers turned against him, the palace gates fell, and suddenly, all his wealth was gone. The king, who once ruled everything, was left standing with nothing but two empty hands. Now, in the same land lived a humble monk. He owned no gold, no house, not even an extra set of clothes. All he carried was the simple robe on his body and the clarity in his heart. Yet when the kingdom fell, the monk did not lose anything, because what he had could not be taken. His wealth was not stored in vaults or guarded by soldiers. His wealth was wisdom and mindfulness, and that kind of treasure cannot be stolen. Think about that for a moment. We live in a world where so much of our energy is spent protecting what we own: our money, our house, our job title, our reputation. But deep down, we all know these things are fragile. Markets crash. Homes can burn. Reputations can crumble overnight. Even the body we carry will one day grow weak. But wisdom, the ability to see clearly, to live with compassion, to understand the truth of life, that is the one thing that no thief, no fire, no loss can ever strip away. So here's the question I want to ask you. Are you investing in the kind of wealth that disappears, or the kind that endures? Let me share something personal. There was a time in my own life when I thought security meant having enough money in the bank, enough achievements under my name, enough people who approved of me. But every time I reached a new milestone, the satisfaction faded. There was always a fear of losing it, always a voice whispering, "What if this doesn't last?" It wasn't until I began investing my energy in learning, in inner practice, in cultivating wisdom, that I discovered a wealth that actually gave me peace. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need to wait for the perfect conditions to start this investment. You can begin right now. Every moment you choose patience over anger, every time you pause to breathe instead of reacting blindly, every time you learn from a hardship instead of letting it harden you, that is interest compounding in your inner bank of wisdom. The Buddha once said, "A wise person's wealth is in their wisdom." It's a reminder that the greatest fortune you will ever carry is not measured by numbers or possessions, but by the clarity and compassion in your heart. So let me leave you with this reflection. If tomorrow all your external wealth disappeared, what would you still have inside you? Would you be left empty-handed like the king, or steady and unshaken like the monk? Because in the end, the only true investment that never loses value is the investment you make in your own wisdom. Time is the most precious capital. There's a saying from the Buddha that has always stayed with me: life is short, do not let your days and nights pass away in vain. Think about that for a moment. We live as if time is endless, as if tomorrow is always guaranteed. We fill our calendars with appointments, scroll through hours of social media, and tell ourselves, "One day I'll do the things that truly matter." But the truth is, our lives are nothing more than a limited number of breaths, a collection of fleeting moments that slip away whether we notice them or not. Let me ask you something. If I were to hand you $86,400 every morning, with one condition, that by midnight, whatever you don't spend will disappear forever, how carefully would you use that money? Would you waste it, or would you invest it wisely? Well, every single day you already received that gift, not in dollars, but in seconds. 86,400 seconds. And once they are gone forever. That is why time is our most precious capital. Unlike money, you can't earn more of it. Unlike possessions, you can't replace it. Once a moment is gone, it never comes back. I'll share something I realized in my own life. There was a period when I was constantly busy, moving from one task to another, chasing deadlines, thinking I was being productive. But when I looked back, I saw that I had spent weeks, even months, without truly living. My time had been consumed by business, but not by meaning. And that is the trap so many of us fall into, mistaking being busy for making the most of our time. So what does it mean to invest our time wisely? It doesn't mean filling every hour with tasks. It means choosing moments that actually nourish us. It means spending time to learn, to reflect, to practice mindfulness. It means giving time to loved ones, to silence, to our own inner growth. The Buddha said that even a single hour of mindful awareness is more valuable than 100 years lived in distraction. And when you think about it, isn't that true? Haven't you had moments where one deep conversation, one quiet walk, or one mindful breath felt more alive than weeks of rushing around? Here's a question I'd like you to sit with. How are you spending the capital of your life? If your time is the most precious currency you will ever hold, are you investing it in things that bring peace and wisdom, or are you letting it slip away into things that leave you feeling empty? Remember, money you lose can be earned again. But time you lose is gone forever. Every moment you live with awareness, every second you dedicate to what truly matters, becomes part of your eternal wealth. So maybe the real challenge is not, how do I get more time? Because we can't. The real question is, how do I honor the time I have? Because in the end, one mindful hour is worth far more than a lifetime of restless wandering. Investing energy in the right things. Have you ever noticed how much energy we spend on things that, in the end, leave us drained and empty? Think about it. How many hours of your life have been consumed by anger, by anxiety, by endless arguments that solved nothing? It's as if we've been pouring all our energy into a leaking bucket, watching it disappear without creating any true value. The Buddha often reminded us that our thoughts, emotions, and actions are a form of investment. Every moment, we are placing our energy somewhere. The real question is, are we investing it in what truly matters, or are we losing it to habits that only bring us suffering? Imagine your energy as currency. If every morning you woke up with a limited balance, how would you spend it? Would you waste it on anger at traffic, frustration with co-workers, or replaying old arguments in your mind? Or would you invest it in kindness, in creating something meaningful, in cultivating peace? I'll be honest, there was a time when I used to spend so much energy trying to win debates, prove myself right, or carry the weight of worries that never even happened. It felt urgent in the moment, but afterward, I was exhausted, and nothing had really changed. That was when I realized, anger and anxiety are like bad investments. They promise quick returns, but in the end, they leave you bankrupt inside. Now, let's look at it differently. What happens when you channel that same energy into something wholesome? When you choose to breathe instead of explode in anger, you protect not only your own peace, but also the people around you. When you invest energy in compassion, in listening, in creating, in practicing mindfulness, you're not wasting. It's like putting your energy into a long-term savings account that grows into deep, lasting peace. And here's the beauty. The returns on this kind of investment are not just personal. When you bring loving energy into the world, it ripples outward. A kind word can shift someone's entire day. A calm response can break the cycle of conflict. That is real profit, the kind that multiplies without end. So let me ask you, where is your energy flowing these days? Are you spending it in ways that leave you depleted, or are you directing it toward what strengthens your heart? We often think peace is something we have to search for, somewhere outside of ourselves. But in truth, peace is the natural profit that arises when we stop throwing our energy into anger, fear, and endless striving, and instead invest it in love, awareness, and meaningful action. The Buddha taught that what you water is what grows. If you keep watering anger, it will bloom into suffering. But if you water compassion, patience, and understanding, your heart will become a garden of peace. So maybe it's time to look at your life and ask, what am I investing in? Because your energy is your wealth. And just like a wise investor, you have the power to choose where it goes. And trust me, the returns of a peaceful mind, a loving heart, and a meaningful life are worth far more than any argument you could ever win. Knowledge nourishes wisdom, but must be transformed. There's a subtle but important truth that many of us overlook. Knowledge is not the final destination, it's only the path. Wisdom is the destination. We live in an age where knowledge is everywhere. You can read thousands of books, listen to countless podcasts, take endless courses. And yet, isn't it strange that with more information than ever before, so many of us still feel lost, anxious, and unfulfilled? I once met someone who proudly told me they had read every major book on mindfulness, psychology, and spirituality. Their shelves were overflowing. But when I asked how they practiced these teachings in their daily life, they fell silent. Because knowing is not the same as living. Knowledge collected but not lived is like food stored in a pantry but never eaten, it cannot nourish you. The Buddha often compared learning to water. Knowledge is like rain that falls from the sky, but unless it seeps into the soil of your heart, it will never nourish the tree of wisdom. If you only collect water in jars, books, notes, theories, without letting it flow through you, your inner garden will remain dry. So here's the question. How do we turn knowledge into wisdom? It begins with practice. You might read about patience, But true wisdom appears only when you hold yourself steady in the middle of frustration. You might understand compassion as a concept, but it becomes wisdom only when you choose kindness in the face of anger. You might know that life is impermanent, but it becomes real when you stop clinging to things that cannot last. Think about it this way: knowledge is like a map. It can point the way, but it will never take you there. You can study every detail of the map of a mountain, but you won't know its air, its silence, or its sunrise until you climb it yourself. In my own journey, I've noticed something. The moments that changed me most were not when I finished reading a book, but when I paused and let a single sentence echo in my heart until it reshaped the way I lived. Sometimes, one truth deeply practiced is more powerful than 1,000 truths merely collected. So let me ask you, are you a collector of maps, or a traveler of the path? There's nothing wrong with seeking knowledge. In fact, it's essential. But knowledge must be absorbed, lived, and transformed. Otherwise, it becomes intellectual clutter, something that fills your head, but never frees your heart. The Buddha said, just as rain cannot make seeds grow without soil, knowledge alone cannot awaken without practice. That's why every lesson you learn must be like water soaking into your being, nourishing the seed of awareness, helping the tree of wisdom grow. So the next time you read, listen, or learn, don't ask, how much did I collect? Ask instead, how much of this can I live today? Because in the end, knowledge that is transformed becomes wisdom. And wisdom, unlike knowledge, will never desert you. Learning the art of letting go. Have you ever noticed how much of your mental energy gets trapped in holding on to grudges, to regrets, to mistakes, even to an identity that no longer serves you? We often think that clinging is strength, that refusing to let go means we are in control. But in reality, it's one of the fastest ways we burn through our inner wealth. Think of a wise investor. When they see that a stock is plummeting, they don't stubbornly cling to it out of pride or fear of loss. They cut it. They let it go, so their resources can flow into something healthier, something with potential to grow. Now imagine applying that same wisdom to your mind. What if you saw every toxic thought, every self-defeating habit, every negative story you replay in your head as bad investments? Would you still keep holding on? Or would you have the courage to cut your losses and redirect your energy? The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. We cling to pleasures, to pain, to people, even to our own stories about who we think we are. And every time we hold too tightly, our mind contracts, our heart suffers. Letting go isn't about weakness, it's about protecting your most valuable asset, your peace. I remember someone once telling me, but if I let go of my anger, then what will I have left? Won't people just walk all over me? It's a common fear. But letting go doesn't mean you stop caring or become passive. It means you free yourself from being consumed by what no longer serves you. Just like pruning a tree, when you let go of the dead branches, you give space for new life to flourish. Ask yourself this: what are you still holding on to that's draining your energy? Is it a relationship that's long expired, but you can't release because of nostalgia? Is it a voice from your past telling you you're not enough? Or maybe it's the habit of comparing yourself to others, constantly scrolling and measuring your life against theirs. Each of these is like a bad stock, taking and taking without ever giving back. When you learn the art of letting go, you reclaim your inner capital. That energy can then be invested in compassion, in creativity, in growth, in love. And slowly, you realize, peace isn't something you chase, it's something that naturally rises when you stop carrying what weighs you down. So here's the truth: your soul isn't a junkyard for regrets or old anger. It's a garden. And just like any wise gardener, you have to know when to pull out the weeds. Because only then can the flowers of wisdom, joy, and freedom bloom. Letting go is not a one-time act, it's a daily practice. Every morning, you have the chance to ask, what am I ready to release today? And every evening, you can reflect, did I cling or did I allow life to flow? In the end, the art of letting go is really the art of protecting your spirit. It's learning to cut your losses in the stock market of the mind, so that you don't just survive, you thrive, with peace as your true profit. Choosing teachers, teachings, and friends. When it comes to investing your mind and your heart, the environment you place yourself in matters more than you might think. Imagine planting a seed. Even if it's the most precious seed in the world, if you drop it on concrete, nothing will grow. But place it in rich soil, give it sunlight and water, and before long, you'll see it sprout into something beautiful. Our wisdom, our growth, is very much the same. We often underestimate just how much the people around us shape who we become. Think about it. When you spend time with someone who constantly complains, argues, or focuses only on what's wrong, don't you notice how your own energy gets pulled down? On the other hand, when you're around someone who radiates kindness, calm, or clarity, it's almost as if your own heart stands a little taller. This is why the Buddha emphasized the importance of Kalyanamitta, spiritual friends. The right companions can lift us up, while the wrong ones can quietly drag us down without us even realizing it. Let's make this practical. Suppose you are trying to eat healthier. If your closest friends are always inviting you to fast food places, it's going to be very hard to stay on track. But if you surround yourself with people who cook nourishing meals and enjoy taking walks, suddenly it feels natural, even effortless. The same applies to the mind. If your circle values mindfulness, compassion, and growth, then those qualities begin to blossom in you too. Now, this doesn't mean we should avoid everyone who struggles or who has negativity. We all have pain, and sometimes we are the ones in need of lifting. But it does mean we must be wise about where we consistently invest our time and attention. Your mind is like a garden. You get to choose which voices, teachings, and friendships act as the soil and water for your growth. I'll share a personal reflection. In my own journey, I noticed that whenever I read a few pages from a wise teacher before bed, whether it was the Buddha's teachings or writings from modern spiritual guides, I slept with a lighter heart. On the other hand, nights when I scrolled endlessly on social media, comparing my life to others, I woke up restless and drained. It's not about being perfect, but about noticing which influences nourish you, and which quietly deplete you. So let me ask you, who are your teachers right now? Not just formal teachers, but the people, books, podcasts, or communities you're letting shape your inner world. And who are your friends, the ones you give your time and trust to? Are they helping you grow toward wisdom and peace, or anchoring you in patterns you are trying to release? When we choose wisely, choosing teachers who awaken us, teachings that guide us, and friends who uplift us, we create an environment where wisdom naturally takes root. It's not about forcing growth, it's about planting ourselves in the right soil. At the end of the day, investing in your mind isn't just about what you do alone on the meditation cushion. It's also about curating the company you keep and the influences you welcome into your daily life. Because just like a seed needs the right earth, your wisdom needs the right environment. And when you find that fertile ground, growth isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Investing in the present moment. How often do we tell ourselves, I'll meditate when life slows down. I'll take care of my inner peace when I retire. I'll be present after I finish this long list of responsibilities. It sounds reasonable, doesn't it? But the truth is, that day often never comes. Life has a way of always adding one more thing, one more project, one more worry. The Buddha once taught that every breath is an opportunity. Imagine that for a moment, not tomorrow, not some distant future, but right here, right now. Each breath you take is a chance to wake up, to return to yourself, to find clarity. If we keep waiting for the perfect time to practice, it's like a wise investor sitting on the sidelines while golden opportunities pass right in front of them. Think about it this way. If you had the chance to invest in something guaranteed to bring you peace, clarity, and resilience, would you wait 10 years before starting? Or would you take even the smallest step today? The present moment is that golden opportunity. The longer we delay, the more we miss out on the only life we truly have, which is unfolding here, not in the future. Let me share a simple story. I once knew a man who said he would start meditating when he turned 60. That's when life slows down, he said. But as the years passed, new responsibilities came, health challenges, family struggles, financial worries. 60 came and went, and he kept postponing peace until his very last days. His regret was not that he worked too much, but that he never learned to be present for his own life. On the other hand, I've met people who began with just 5 mindful breaths a day, nothing complicated, just pausing before a meal or before stepping into a meeting. Those tiny investments, like small deposits in a savings account, grew into a treasure of peace that supported them in every moment of stress or uncertainty. So, I ask you, where are you placing your time and attention right now? Are you waiting for a someday that may never arrive? Or are you willing to invest even a few moments today, this very day, into simply breathing, noticing, and being alive? The present moment is often overlooked because it feels too ordinary. We think wisdom is hidden in distant mountains or exotic retreats. But really, it's as close as your own inhale and exhale. Each time you pause to notice your breath, your steps, or the sound of the wind, you are depositing energy into the most stable account there is, the account of presence. Here's the truth: if we miss the present, we miss everything. Because the past is already gone, and the future hasn't arrived. The only place where life is truly happening, the only place where transformation is possible, is now. And the greatest investment you can ever make for your peace, your clarity, and your happiness is to live fully in this moment. So let's not wait for another day, another year, another milestone. Take this breath, yes, this very one, as a reminder. The present moment is not just passing by, it's offering itself to you as a gift. And if you choose to invest in it, you'll discover it's worth more than any treasure the world can give. Investing wisdom to transform suffering. Most of us see suffering as something to escape. When pain comes, whether it's heartbreak, failure, or loss, our first instinct is to push it away, distract ourselves, or cover it up. But the Buddha offered us a radically different perspective. Suffering is not something to run from, it's something we can use. Think of suffering as fertile soil. Pain, disappointment, fear, all of these are like mud. And wisdom is the seed we plant in that mud. If we care for it with patience, understanding, and mindfulness, that very mud becomes the foundation for the lotus to bloom. The lotus, a symbol of awakening, cannot grow in clear, pure water, it needs the richness of the mud. In the same way, our deepest wisdom often grows out of our deepest struggles. Let me share an example. I once met a woman who had lost nearly everything in her life, her career, her relationship, even her health. For years, she felt as if she were drowning in suffering. But one day, instead of asking, "Why me?" she began asking, "What is this teaching me?" That simple shift transformed her pain into a path of growth. She became more compassionate, more resilient, and discovered a strength she never knew she had. The very suffering she once hated became the soil that nurtured her awakening. Have you ever noticed how the most inspiring people are not those who never suffered, but those who suffered deeply and found meaning in it? They are living examples of this truth, that suffering, when approached with wisdom, becomes an investment that pays back in clarity, compassion, and strength. Here's the important point: running from suffering often multiplies it. We numb ourselves with distractions, addictions, or anger, but the pain lingers beneath the surface. Facing it directly with mindfulness and insight allows us to transform it. Imagine holding a burning coal tightly in your hand, it only brings more pain. But if you set it down gently and observe it, eventually it cools and becomes harmless. That's what wisdom does, it gives us the capacity to see suffering without being consumed by it. So, the next time you encounter pain, try asking yourself, What seed of wisdom can I plant here? What lesson is waiting to be revealed? It could be patience, compassion, forgiveness, or simply the understanding that nothing in life is permanent. Each insight we harvest from suffering is like interest earned on the investment of our awareness. The truth is, we cannot avoid suffering, it's part of being human. But we can choose what to do with it. We can waste it by running away, or we can invest it by turning it into a teacher. And when we make that choice, our suffering stops being just pain, it becomes purpose. Like the lotus rising from the mud, wisdom grows not in spite of suffering, but because of it. And that realization changes everything. Instead of asking life for comfort and perfection, we begin to see even our struggles as opportunities to deepen our practice, to grow our compassion, and to discover the unshakable peace that lies within us. So, remember this, your suffering is not a punishment, and it's not meaningless. It's soil. And with the light of wisdom, you can grow a garden of awakening from it. Sharing wisdom to create true wealth. There's something fascinating about wisdom. Unlike money, the more you give it away, the richer you become. Think about that for a moment. If you hand someone $1, you have one less dollar. But if you share an insight, a piece of compassion, or a mindful teaching, you don't lose anything, you actually expand it. This is why the Buddha often said that the greatest gift is the gift of Dharma, the gift of understanding. When you share wisdom, you're not just helping someone else, you're strengthening your own practice. It's like lighting a candle. One flame can light 1,000 others, and yet the original flame is never diminished. In fact, it burns brighter surrounded by light. Let me give you an example. Have you ever explained something you learned to a friend, only to realize that in explaining it, you understood it even more deeply yourself? That's the nature of wisdom, it grows through sharing. Every time we share a mindful perspective, every time we offer compassion instead of judgment, we are both teaching and reinforcing the wisdom within us. This doesn't mean you need to be a scholar or a monk to share wisdom. Sometimes it's as simple as listening deeply to a friend who's struggling, offering a gentle reminder to breathe, or modeling patience when anger arises. Those small acts are seeds of wisdom being planted in others, and they ripple outward in ways we can't always see. Here's the beauty of it: when we hoard wealth, it creates fear of losing it. But when we share wisdom, it creates freedom, because it multiplies endlessly. A kind word today might inspire someone to forgive. A teaching shared at the right moment might save someone from despair. You may never know the full impact, but like a stone dropped in water, the ripples travel far beyond the point of contact. I remember once meeting a man who told me that a single sentence from a teacher changed the entire course of his life. The teacher might not even remember saying it, but that moment of wisdom became a turning point. It shows us that what we share doesn't have to be grand, it only has to be genuine. So, let me ask you, how often do you share the wisdom you've gathered, not just through books, but through your own lived experience? What if you saw every challenge you've overcome as a lantern you can pass along to someone still walking in the dark? The truth is, wisdom doesn't diminish when given, it multiplies. And when you share it, you're not only enriching the lives of others, you're also cultivating merit, compassion, and a deeper understanding within yourself. That is the kind of wealth that cannot be stolen, spent, or lost. So, don't keep your wisdom locked away. Share it in your family, in your community, in your everyday interactions. Each time you do, you're making a deposit into an account of spiritual abundance that only grows. Remember, material wealth shrinks when divided, but wisdom expands. And the more generously you share it, the richer the world, and you, become. The sweet fruit of investment. Have you ever planted a seed in the soil and waited for it to grow? At first, it feels like nothing is happening. Days pass, weeks pass, and still, the ground looks the same. But beneath the surface, roots are quietly spreading, reaching deeper, preparing for the moment when a small green sprout will break through. That sprout is the proof that your patience, your care, and your trust in time were never wasted. Investing in wisdom works the same way. When we choose to spend our time, our energy, and our focus on nurturing the mind instead of chasing fleeting pleasures, we may not see instant results. The mind still wanders, emotions still rise and fall, and life continues to test us. But slowly, something shifts. We notice that when others are quick to anger, we can breathe. When life shakes us with uncertainty, we don't collapse inside. That is the fruit of a deeper investment, the fruit of inner growth. Buddha once said that true wealth is not gold or silver, but a mind that cannot be disturbed. Think about that for a moment. If the storms of life cannot move you, if you can stay calm, clear, and kind no matter what comes, isn't that the greatest return anyone could ever wish for? Let's be honest, we live in a world where profits are often measured by numbers, graphs, and bank accounts. But the profit of inner cultivation isn't something you can track on a chart. It shows up in how you sleep peacefully at night. It shows up in how your smile can soothe another person's heart. It shows up in how you walk through difficulties without losing yourself. That is a wealth beyond measure. I've met people who had very little in material terms, yet carried a light in their eyes and a peace in their presence that felt richer than any mansion. Their secret wasn't luck. It was the fruit of consistent investment, of giving time to mindfulness, of choosing kindness over ego, of learning to let go rather than cling. And here's a question I want to leave with you. What kind of investment are you making today that your future self will be grateful for? Is it another hour scrolling endlessly on your phone, or an hour of silence that strengthens your clarity? Is it another argument that drains your spirit, or a moment of forgiveness that restores your peace? Every choice we make is a seed, and every seed will bear fruit in time. When we stay patient, when we continue watering the soil of our own mind with wisdom, love, and awareness, the harvest is inevitable. The fruit of this investment is not only for ourselves, it sweetens the lives of everyone we touch. That is why the Buddha's teaching feels timeless. The true profit is peace, the true success is freedom, and the true treasure is a mind awakened. So, the next time you wonder whether all these small practices, breathing, pausing, reflecting, really matter, remember the seed. Remember that what is invisible today may be your greatest blessing tomorrow. The sweet fruit is waiting. All it asks of you is patience, trust, and care. Conclusion: the final teaching. People often ask, what is the safest investment in life? Some might say it's real estate, others will point to gold, stocks, or technology. But if you look deeply, you'll see that all these things rise and fall. Markets shift, property changes value, even the most stable assets can be lost. The only truly safe and lasting investment is in yourself. When we invest in our own wisdom, our time, and our energy, it's like building a foundation that cannot be shaken. With wisdom, even when life takes something from us, we don't collapse. We find new ways, we see new doors, and even loss becomes a teacher. With wisdom, life is no longer a desperate race to keep up, or to outdo others. It becomes a journey of coming home to who we really are. Let me share something personal. I once met an older man who had been through countless struggles, financial failure, health problems, even losing loved ones. Yet when I sat with him, I felt an incredible peace radiating from his presence. He said to me, "I lost many things in life, but I never lost my ability to see clearly. That is why I can begin again, no matter what happens." His words stayed with me, because they echoed the Buddha's teaching: a clear mind is the greatest wealth. Think about your own life. How much of your energy is spent chasing things that can disappear overnight? And how much are you truly investing in the one thing no one can ever take away: your mind, your wisdom, your clarity? Every moment you choose mindfulness instead of distraction, every time you practice kindness instead of anger, every effort you make to understand instead of judging, these are deposits into an account that grows with time, but never diminishes. The Buddha once said, "A peaceful mind and a clear wisdom, that is the truest wealth." Imagine carrying that wealth with you everywhere you go. No market crash can touch it, no thief can steal it, no circumstance can erase it. It is yours, deeply rooted within you. So as we close this journey together, let me leave you with one question. If your life is an investment portfolio, where are you putting your energy? Into things that fade, or into the timeless treasure of inner clarity and compassion? Remember, the sweetest fruit doesn't come from rushing. It comes from steady, patient care, from watering the seed of wisdom each day, trusting that it will bloom. And when it does, you will discover wealth far greater than gold, the peace of a mind that knows itself, and the joy of a heart that is free. That, my friends, is the safest and most rewarding investment you could ever make.